Composting and cycling nutrients are essential for a healthy garden, and growing your food or establishing habitat for wildlife benefit our health and wellness. But if you're an apartment gardener or have limited space, what can you do? In this video, I'll show you how to recycle kitchen waste at home using the Bokashi system. This anaerobic process relies on inoculated bran to ferment food scraps, including meat and dairy. The result is a microbe and nutrient-rich pre-compost that's ready for adding to your garden. I'm Scott from New Garden Road, always out here to inform, inspire, and elevate you. Encouraging biodiversity and restoring habitat is my mission, one garden at a time. One of the essential elements for bringing this all together is bran, which is the protective outer layer of many cereal grains such as rice, barley, and corn, which has been inoculated with effective microorganisms, or EM. These are a specific blend of beneficial bacteria, including lactic acid and yeast. Lactobacillus converts sugars to lactic acid, lowers pH, and creates an environment that's less hospitable to pathogens and methane-producing bacteria. Yeast work to decompose sugars and generate vitamins, hormones, and amino acids. Purple non-sulfur bacteria, or PNABs, break down hydrogen sulfide gas and ammonia, reducing the odors that they produce. And this is how we get to a fermented or pre-digested food waste that's low in odor and requires less time to fully compost. So all of the microbes that this bran is inoculated with are dormant, and they're waiting to come in contact with organic matter. The Bokashi bran has a shelf life of around 1 year, although I've been pushing the limits and still seeing some active biology. One of the privileges of being in the creator space is that companies will reach out and offer you their products. In this instance, I want to make it clear that I reached out to Bokashi on my own because I really wanted to try this system. And I say all that just to let you know that I wouldn't be recommending it and highlighting it in this video if it's something that I didn't truly believe in. Thanks to Bokashi Living for sending me their 2-bin starter kit and sponsoring this video. Bokashi Living is a family-owned business, and what they produce is a high-caliber bin that's made of food-grade resin, and it won't cause any leaching into your pre-compost. The bin comes with a durable spigot already installed, it's got a strainer plate and an airtight lid. While this is an investment, it's an investment in quality, and it will get you composting quickly. In researching this topic, I did come across a lot of do-it-yourself options, and I think there's some pros and cons to this that I want to speak to. Number one is you're going to save some money if you do it yourself. That's the baseline for why we do it ourselves a lot of times. However, you're going to pay in another form. You're going to pay in time because you're going to have to do some research, figure out how to do this, source your materials, and put it all together. So for me, with a lot of projects on the board that I just don't get to, I find a lot of value in having a quality system that's ready at my fingertips that I can get going quickly. Unlike the do-it-yourself options, this Bokashi starter kit comes with a great manual that tells you exactly how to move through the process. It answers some frequently asked questions and points you to some other resources. They have a lot of information online as well, including some video tutorials. So I encourage you to check that out and go for it. Get your Bokashi going. Putting together and starting a new bin is really simple. All you got to do is put your strainer plate in the bottom of that bin. It fits perfectly, and then you're going to sprinkle it with some of that Bokashi bran. It's important to note that you should chop up your food scraps really well before adding them to your bin. This will create more surface area for those microbes to do their work. And now you can add some food scraps in a 1-inch layer. You'll follow that up with a sprinkling of 2 to 4 tablespoons of the Bokashi bran. And you'll want some type of additional cover to keep oxygen away from your food scraps as you fill up that bin. You can use a plastic bag, or you can do like I did and take that strainer plate ahead of time and trace it on some cardboard. Cut out that cardboard and it'll fit perfectly on top of those food scraps. And then you'll seal up the bin with your airtight lid, and I recommend making sure that the spigot is fully closed. The optimal temperature for making your Bokashi is room temperature, so inside the home is going to be ideal. Now you can experiment depending on your climate, what type of average temperatures you have throughout the year, if you can do this outside, but you want to make sure it's outside of direct sunlight. I've got a front porch here that's fairly protected on the north side of my home, but in Texas, pretty hot a lot of the time, so I'm a little bit limited in that. I did start off with a bin here on the front porch early in the spring, and I left it out into the 90s. So this is the bin that I set out on the front porch in the spring. I had some questions as to whether or not I had left it out for too long and it had gotten too hot, but I kept it going and I finally filled it up. I brought it inside to finish. This cardboard does not hold up, so it's going to be a little difficult to peel it away. Ooh, look at that. Oh my goodness. Yeah, that's really nice. A lot of, development with the lactobacillus on the plant material. I'm not smelling any strong odors. So if you live in a cold climate, what you would expect is these microbes won't be working very, very efficiently. They're gonna be slow and not as active as they would be if you kept your Bokashi bin indoors. So again, you can experiment, you can look at your seasonality, and if you wanna keep it outside, you can do that, but optimally, you're gonna keep your Bokashi inside. After several days, you'll want to check for any Bokashi tea that might have accumulated in the bottom of the bin. This is simply the leachate from the food scraps that are being fermented in your bin. Place a cup or some type of container under the spigot and give it a quarter turn. You really don't have to turn it that much, and take it easy on that spigot because you want to ensure that it has a long life. Draining the tea from the bins on a regular basis can help to keep any potential odors down, but I just got to say that I have 2 of these bins in my office right next to where I do all my video work and research, and I do not notice an odor. This tea is a great source of beneficial microbes, but it is highly acidic, and it's recommended that you dilute it 1 to 100 parts. In my Texas garden, I find it much easier to dilute it to a ratio of 1 to 128. That equates to 1 ounce of the concentrated Bokashi tea per gallon of water. And from there you can apply it to your plants, your container or garden soil, your compost pile, and it may be helpful to unblock slow or clogged drains in your home. Consider supporting this work by signing up for my Patreon, and together we can sow the seeds of sustainability for many seasons to come. When it comes to adding more scraps to the bin, I recommend collecting those scraps in a regular kitchen composter bin for adding every 2 to 4 days. This will limit the amount of oxygen exposure that you're introducing to this anaerobic process. I found that this has helped to keep my kitchen compost bin fresher, as I'm emptying it more frequently than I would if I was taking it to my outdoor compost pile. Add those food scraps in 1-inch layers and follow up with a dusting of 2 to 4 tablespoons of the bran. The more the better. You can't really overdo it here. You're just going to get more microbial action, and if you've got some tougher or bigger pieces in there, then you want to add a little bit more. That can help. But you can do multiple layers in one pass, but each time you add a layer of food scraps, push down on them to remove any air pockets. Once that bin is completely full, you want to let it culture for 2 weeks or more before you add it to your garden. And then you can bury it in trenches or holes directly in your garden soil, or you can add it to the middle of your compost pile and mix it in with the existing material before covering it back up again. If you don't have a compost pile or you're an apartment gardener, you can create a soil factory system using small or large bins by simply layering soil. It can be potting soil, garden soil, along with that pre-compost. Those fermented food scraps will break down rapidly, and they'll be good for top dressing any containers that you might have. Another option could be to donate this to a local community garden. Each time you empty out your cultured Bokashi bin, just give it a good rinse. The advantage of having a 2-bin system is that you can have a bin that you're always able to add to. As soon as you get one full and it starts to culture, you can begin building the next one. And about the time you get that one full, your first bin will be ready to add to your soil factory or your garden, and you're good to go. I really loved adding this Bokashi to my compost, and as I begin to harvest it and use it in my garden, create soil conditioner for my next planting of vegetables, I observed a lot of mycelial growth where I had added that Bokashi. So I think it's fair to say this is a great source of food for indigenous microorganisms and a tremendously valuable asset in the organic garden. Encouraging biodiversity. The bees be buzzing. If you Google Bokashi, we can pickle that. Just goes on and on. Now check out more awesome gardening videos on my channel. Like this video and follow New Garden Road for weekly content. You can grow your own food. Keep it organic.